All right, AMDM students, we are going to start our first lesson of the year talking about proportions. Now, many of y'all have dealt with proportions in the past, so a lot of this is just going to be nothing more than a review. So you might be fast forwarding through this video a couple times. So let's go and get started. Basically, a proportion, I'm going to keep this simple, and that is a proportion or proportions is when you're comparing two items. So in the very simple example that I showed you, you are comparing the yellow circle to the total. So for example, using, again, I know I'm probably going a little more involved than I have to, is they're making a comparison of yellow, and I apologize, I am writing with my mouse here, and they're comparing it to the total amount of circles in the box here. All right, so there you go. All right, so yellow and total. So yellow is 1, and then of course you have a total of 3. And then the proportion is the same on the other side, where you have 2 yellow and then a total of 6 circles in the box. All right, now steering that away from shapes and actually going to a couple of questions is where we're really going to spend most of our time. And so this first example here, it's not on the worksheet. This is just kind of a warm-up problem. But again, just trying to highlight a couple things. And so we have a question. John is driving and he travels 200 miles in 3 hours. How many miles can he travel in 5.5 hours? So if you look at the question, we're talking about miles, and then we're also talking about hours. All right, so the two things that we're comparing is going to be, and I'll actually type this so it's going to be a little neater and faster. It's going to be miles versus hours. So when you're dealing with miles and hours, when you are creating proportion, you decide how you want to set it up, because you know that with the proportion, it's going to be in a fraction format, kind of like what you see up here. So if you want to put miles over hours, that's perfectly fine. If you want to put hours over miles, perfectly fine. But whatever you decide to do, you got to make sure that the next proportion, the next fraction you make also is the same format as the first fraction. So if you did miles over hours, the next fraction has to be miles over hours. If you decide, hey, I want to do hours over miles, you just got to make sure that you do the whole concept of um, miles over hours, just continue the format. All right. Now, using the numbers that is supplied in this problem here, I am going to choose miles over hours. All right, so our first problem is we have, or the first part is we have 200 miles in 3 hours. So I'm going to set it up as 200, again, writing with my mouse, forgive me, over 3 hours is equal to, let's keep reading, how many miles? So we don't know what that is. That's a question mark in 5.5 hours. So our next fraction is going to have the hours in the denominator and the unknown as our numerator. Now at this point, again, since this is a review, you probably fast forwarding through this, but I'm going to solve anyway. So we're going to multiply, or I'm sorry, cross multiply, so the 3 times x, so that'll be 3x is equal to 200 times 5.5, and I'll need my calculator because it's early in the morning. Yep, that's what I thought it was. 1,100, and from here is basic 9th grade algebra, really more like 7th grade. We'll divide by 3, and we get our number of miles being, it's going to be a decimal, so we're going to round, we're just going to go ahead and round to the nearest whole, 367 miles. Again, right with my mouse. There you go. So 367 miles. All right. So as you are working through, and now we're actually going to go to the worksheet here, you're dealing with the same type of questions. And some of them are relatively simple, and then some of them tend to get a little more challenging. But like question number 1, you have 31 kilograms of potatoes, and they cost $93. How many kilograms can for 96 bucks? So again, relatively simple. You are comparing kilograms versus or to money. So at this point, I'm going to put kilograms. So I'm going to put kilograms. So I'm going to put K over money. Now, I'm just showing you right here what I'm doing. You don't necessarily have to write what you're doing because you should know what you're doing because you're doing the work. But I'm just going to do kilograms over money. All right, so it's going to be 31 over 93. How many kilograms? X over 96. So from here, we're going to cross multiply. I got a highlighter. Cross multiply, and I'm actually going to type this to make it a lot easier and cleaner. It'd be 93x is equal to 2076, and then I'm going to divide by 93, and my answer is going to be x is equal to 32 kilograms. Pretty simple. All right, let's see what we have here. To make the best use of our time, I'm going to kind of go through. I will do question number 2 because it's a previous question. These type of previous question types can kind of sometimes be a problem. All right, so a car travels 39.4 miles in 5.6 hours with constant speed. How far can travel 2.2? That's kind of like our warm-up problem. All right, so again, I'm going to do miles over hours because those are the two units being compared. So that's going to be 390.4 over 5.6 is equal to x over 2.2. Now, given the fact that this is now going to be our third time, I'm going to speed up a little bit, cross multiply. And so it's going to be 5.6x is equal to 94 times 858.88 divided by 5.6. And that's going to give me, I guess since we're dealing with decimals, we might as well keep it in the decimal family here. X is equal to 153 points, we'll round that 4 miles. All right, now, the reason I kind of wanted to highlight this is because this is a continuation. So it says from the previous question. And so what that means is you got to take the information from the previous question. So it says if a family was going on a vacation, their destination was 11.5 miles away, how long will it take? All right, so again, doing the whole concept of miles over hours. So you know you're going to do 511.5, and then you're going to make that over miles over hours. Okay. How long will it take? We don't know. X. So we're going to have that part of the fraction set up, but then you know we're supposed to set it equal to something, and this is where students get messed up. So that's why I was trying to highlight this. So it's extra information. Or not extra information, but it's continuous from question 2. So you're going to have to take the information for question 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this because we already have this rate. I'm just going to go ahead and plug it down there. So 390.4 over 5.6. Again, writing with my mouse. So we have a complete, well, not a complete, but we have a proportion that we can solve. So it's going to end up being, again, speeding up a little bit after we cross multiply, 390.4x is equal to 511.5 times 5.6, 2,864, 4, divide that, and you get x is equal to 7.3, we're rounding, hours. All right, So that's pretty much the start of your proportion review. Now, as you're working through this, obviously the next time we meet, which would probably be online, please make sure you're asking questions. Don't assume that I'm going to go over it. A lot of times it's going to be one of those situations where you got to bring me questions as opposed to you waiting on me to ask. So make sure you ask. If you don't understand something, say something, and I'll be happy to help you. But thank you for watching, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.